Have you heard about Jay Gatsby? By Millie Sheep. Chapter 4. It was the Red Hood. Jason had been smiling more. He'd been generally feeling happier, even when he went out. A few goons he kept around even noticed. No one had commented on it, but it was a noticeable change. They all seemed to get that Jason hadn't really wanted to talk about it. He just wanted it to be. And, by miracle of miracles, he actually talked with Bruce. Voluntarily. Well, still as Red Hood and Batman. It was a miracle, not the full return of Christ. So, Jason tossed a file onto the Bat computer's console. I thought this might interest you. Bruce's cowl was still on, but Jason could tell Bruce was raising an eyebrow, and he stopped his work to pick up the file. He still didn't say anything as he flipped through the information Jason collected, but Jason wasn't that bothered. For the first time in a long while, the silence between them was comfortable. Jason didn't need Bruce's approval. He knew he had done a good job. No one had gotten hurt, and Jason had put together that what he had learned was connected to a bigger case Bruce was working on. A bigger case Jason didn't feel the need to deal with, because he was busy coordinating with the homeless shelters and other people displaced from the last big scarecrow attack. Thank you, Jason. Bruce finally spoke up as he pulled back his cowl and smiled up at Jason. For a second, Jason was 13 again, new to the manor and getting used to the stability, where a little praise felt like everything. But it was only a second. A little prickle of excitement, quickly overwashed by calm. No problem, B. Jason shrugged, and then started to walk off with a wave. Let me know if there's something else. Jason couldn't see Bruce's expression, but he could feel a bit of Bruce's surprise in the short, quiet moment. Of course. They didn't say anything else, and while there was a flicker of worry in Jason's mind about Bruce knowing, it didn't really matter, did it? Because he wasn't pushing it, and things were okay. Things were going well. Maybe they could be better. One day. Not today, though. Jason still had problems with Bruce. Tension and things they still needed to talk about. Not today. Maybe not tomorrow. But someday. Gatsby Reviews Special Q&A. The video starts a little different from most of Jay's videos. Jay is still sitting on a worn couch. A coffee table with a mess of books, notes, and a stack of coasters is scattered over it. Jay himself is in his typical outfit, sweats and a black hoodie with a mask, with a Gotham Knights ball cap. There seems to be a bit of a nervous air around him, but not upsettingly so. So, I've been making my way through the videos I promised you guys for meeting the charity goals. And we're finally at the big one, the Q&A. I'm a bit nervous because I'm not very good at sharing stuff about myself, so maybe this will be good for me. Jay then motions to behind the camera. Steph is here again, along with my sister, and she'll be holding the cards, and Steph reading me the questions. Steph's hand waves in front of the camera, then a second that had to be Jay's sister, as Jay put on some reading glasses, as on-screen a question appears. Alright, Jay, first question. Have you seriously never read The Great Gatsby? Okay, I'll be honest. Obviously I have. Jason looked directly at the camera while waving his hand. I've put it in the background of several videos, and the fact that I'm still getting this question just shows me who the true fans are. Also, I don't really feel that bad for taking the name, because Zelda Fitzgerald deserved better. Jay just sighed and moved on to the next question, but seemed more amused than annoyed. Steph's laughter can be heard in the background. How much do you bench? So, I don't really bench. Jay shrugs. I mostly do martial arts. Kind of MMA. And there are some mixed opinions about weight training and fighting. I personally don't do a ton to avoid stress on my joints, because I like keeping flexible. It doesn't look like it, but I can do a backflip. So I don't know how much I can bench, but my squat is about 500 to 600 pounds. I never push it, so that's around what I work with. So my guess would be a lot. Jay waves his hand dismissively as he moves on to the next question. Why do you keep taking recommendations from your friends and family? Hey, I give great recommendations! Jay looks deadpan at the camera, clearly ignoring Steph's protests. There also seems to be a bit of laughter in the background. Because I'm a glutton for punishment. Jay then continues on with the questions, adjusting his glasses. How are D and Little D? Little D, I can't believe he let you call him that. Again, Jay ignores the outburst, as his face seems to lighten up at the question. Good. D's at a solid A now. He had a project due last week, and he really rocked it, man. He's really got the head for physics and stuff, and I'm pretty sure we're on track for our first year not blowing anything up in the science fair. Little D still has troubles, but English is like his third language, and I'm trying to do our tutoring in his first. And it's improving. He's not a big school person, so I'm trying to help him out more, but traditional schooling isn't for everyone. Jay looks back down, moving on. How's your big sister? There's a pleased sound from behind the camera. Jay gives a little eye roll, but motions towards the camera. Well, since she's here, how are you doing, C? I'm doing well. Jay waves his hand, and Steph is snickering again, and more soft laughter can be heard. But then, Jay sighs and they move on. How do you know Oracle? Jay rubs his temples. I don't. Not really. I can't be sure, but it's a friend of a friend situation. I honestly couldn't tell you how they know me in real life, and honestly, I don't want to know. I don't really agree with some superheroes. I mean, save for, like, Wonder Woman. But Oracle probably has people they care about, and they've done good by me. So there isn't any point in me trying to figure it out. If they want to be my mod, then I'm grateful for the support. Jay moves on to the next question. What's your favorite foods? It seems like Jay is beaming now. I genuinely love food, so I have a lot of favorites. I really love a good sourdough bread. Fresh sourdough bread. Oh, wait, look at my starter. What a dork. A bit of a dork. Steph's voice, and the one that follows it, is barely above a whisper, as Jay disappears for a moment. Then he comes back and shows a jar with a pale gloop and a lot of bubbles in it. If you remember, my grandfather, he finally let me have some of his heirloom starter. I've been trying to take care of this little guy. I'll be making my first batch soon. Jay, the questions. Then Jay disappears, seemingly to put his starter away, as he returns to his seat and the notebook full of questions. Anyway, I like Neapolitan ice cream, big burger guy too. I love chili dogs as well. Man, I just kind of love food in general. So let's move on before I turn this into another cooking episode. Jay's face seems a little red as he pulls the notebook over his face. How many siblings do you have? A lot. With a roll of his eyes, and lowering the notebook, Jay explains a little. I have 2 older, then 3 younger. 4 if we count Steph, which you might as well at this point. She's probably gonna marry in eventually. Who? Well, I have a bet going. Jay paused at that. It's not gonna be me, though. I'm off the market. Not that I was ever really on it. My partner kinda dragged me out kicking and screaming. Again, Jay pauses. That's a joke. I'm safe and happy in a relationship. I'm just not exactly known for being emotionally intelligent, available, stable. But anyway, I'm working on that, so I've got great backup for it. God, you and your mush. I'm gonna be sick. 12,356 comments. At Spicy Interval. If I say a single comment making fun of how excited Jay was about his starter, I will hunt you for sport. At Starbite. Jay, a 6'2" giant of a man with mad aura. Also Jay, like an excited kid. Look at my sourdough starter. Your starter looks great, Jay. At Greenlight Artist. Hearts. At Legendary. This is what we women want. A man who gets excited about his books and his bread. At Detox Dream. We need more Steph. She and Jay bounce off each other so well. At username 3434. Honestly, I was hoping we'd have Roy again, but Steph is great. At Broski. His sister seems nice too. At Like It Lust It. Okay, but why aren't we talking about how much he squats? At Soul Short. I'll be real with you, it short-circuited my brain, and the fact he went right into talking about his bread while looking so proud, I forgot how he pretty much admitted to being 90% muscle. Then the partner line? At Like It Lust It. You know what? Fair. At Hedgehogger. I am shocked to my core. Like, everything we learned aligns with who we know Jay is, but at the same time, huh? He's so cute and so masculine. It's just... At Too Cute Coward. You know, the more I watch, the more I feel like this is not just I am learning things about cooking and books, but I feel like Jay is learning too. In that last bit about working on it, I'm rooting for you too, Jay. Your partner is a lucky person. Jay stared at his email. If he was honest, he wasn't great about checking it. But since he started his fundraising and charity work, he'd been reminding himself to check it more often. And, well, he was glad he started doing it. Because he was staring at an offer to teach a course for another YouTube channel. One he remembers watching in the library while he was homeless, trying to keep up with school. One he'd watched when he was playing catch-up after coming to live with Bruce. Now they wanted him to teach people about life skills. Jay knew, logically, he was still breathing, but his throat was tight, and he felt like his breathing was caught. He'd never considered being an educator before. He liked what he was doing. He was comfortable. But this was more... He technically didn't even have a high school diploma. Maybe? He should fix that. But first, he has an email to write, because he'd love to give this a chance. You got your GED? Barbara blinked as her gaze shifted from between Jason and the paper he had presented for her. Yeah. I'm working on an educational series with Crash Course, so I figured I should at least have my GED. I was actually going to ask if you could help me apply for some classes at the community college. Jason. Barbara finally and firmly set her gaze on Jason. I'm so proud of you. Jason quickly turned his head away, feeling the blood rush. It's not that big of a deal or anything, you know. It really is, though. Oh, you have to show the others. They'll be so happy. Jason just shrugged as he tried to hide his smile behind his hand. His gaze still on the worker behind the coffee counter. Barbara lowered her eyes back to the GED paper in his hand. Before setting it on the table, the sounds of the cafe continued around them. How are you feeling, Jason? Good. Jason revealed without any hesitation. Because it was true. I haven't felt this good in a long time. Like, I'm doing something right, and I don't have to worry about fighting anyone over it. Not that I need anyone's approval, but I'm relaxed. Barbara folded her hands and nodded. I'm sorry you've been alone for so long, Jason. Jason just shrugged, but Barbara wasn't having it. You are a traumatized kid, not an adult. We should have been there for you, especially when it was hard. But we weren't. And we can't change it now. I'm glad, Jason, that despite that, you've been strong and found a way. And I'm even happier you're letting me in. Well, you're still the Batgirl to my Robin. Jason looked at her, shooting a little smile. That got a laugh out of the older woman. Always, Boy Wonder. Always. Now come on. This calls for another round of desserts. On me. Jason bared his teeth in a sharp smile. Can't say no to that. Chapter 5. Who is Jason? Capitalism and Life Skills. Crash Course Home Economics. 1. The video opens up to a man who looks to be Jay Gatsby sitting in the middle of a kitchen set. His face is covered by a mask, but he's in a t-shirt and apron. He seems relaxed, even as he stands with his arms folded. The kitchen set had a small fridge behind Jay, along with rows of cabinets and an oven. In front of Jay is an island with pots and pans and a burner. Hello everyone, I'm Jay, and welcome to Crash Course Home Economics. The camera shifts to a closer shot of Jay as he begins to talk. Home economics has been called a few different names over the years, mainly domestic science or family and consumer science. The goal was to give housework a more professional sound, and this will tie into something we'll talk about later, as it was to appease the world's growing population of educated women into getting professional and intellectual fulfillment through traditional roles of the sexes. So, misogyny. The screen briefly shifts to black and white photos of women working in a kitchen as Jay continues to narrate. But ultimately, home ec is still important, because these are life skills. The 7 traditional principles of home ec are cooking, child development, education and community awareness, home management and design, sewing, budgeting, and finally, health and hygiene. As Jay's narration hits each topic, a picture of each topic appears on the screen, before finally going back to Jay. We will touch on each topic. It's important to address these root thoughts, because I, someone who identifies as a man, use most of these skills in my daily life. And we need to break the stigma around housework. The only skill I don't really use is child development. A little cartoon Jay appears on the screen. He waves, a baby falls down into his arms. Cartoon Jay starts trying to take care of the baby, but seems a little unsteady. But I'd like to be a dad one day, so it's better I learn how I can best support the future little human. The screen goes back to Jay as he leans on the kitchen counter. Let's begin to break down how the biggest factor of home ec is capitalism. If a large group of people have a skill gap, that creates a market. A place for someone to sell you something. Now, having a skill gap isn't bad. Sometimes, again, the screen changes to a cartoon Jay working on a computer that starts smoking. The cartoon Jay jumps. You don't know how to do something, and it's fine to call someone who does. A little computer repair man appears and begins fixing Jay's computer. But problems are started when a dependency is forced. 2,395 comments. At Playback Punk. Okay, but this was really cool. They are really pulling out the stops for gaps in the education system. At Bruh Vibes. Jay Gatsby? What are you doing here? At Plasma Pastels. To be honest, this makes a lot of sense for Jay's content, given how education his stuff is. And there are already lit vids. At Bruh Vibes. I guess you're right. His Insta is cooking, isn't it? At Gaia Crafter. Who the fuck is Jay Gatsby? Like, the book? At MeBuzz. Yes, but also no. At Poetry. And here I thought I was a functional adult. Jason took his seat in the middle of the classroom's desk. It wasn't the most strategic position, being in the mess of desks, but Jason was trying to not constantly be ready to be attacked. He was trying to be more relaxed at school. More like Jay Gatsby. What didn't help was that he was a bit bored out of his mind in English 1, which made sense, but he needed it for his general education credits. What he wasn't expecting was for his professor to pull up his own YouTube channel at the start of Wednesday's class. Alright, Miss Corwell said, dimming the lights. Today we're going over some resources for your next paper. She walked back to her computer as the projector flickered light onto the whiteboard. First off, I'm going to recommend you guys something I found last semester that helped a ton of students out. Jason found himself sinking into his seat as Miss Corwell returned to her computer, pulling up YouTube and typing in Jay Gatsby for real. And there Jason was, in a college classroom, watching his professor talk over as he watched his own masked face play on the screen. He tried sinking lower into his chair, praying no one noticed. For a moment, Jason was 14 again, as his gym teacher, who'd been obsessed with Batman, was showing the class photos of Batman and Robin and explaining what he thought their training was. Of course, back then, Jason had been trying not to puff out his chest in pride, though there was a hint of nervousness. But that memory itself smacked Jason a little out of his stupor. He tried not to think about the past too much. There was no going back after all. But the familiarity of the feeling that Jason had in another life to worry about. What would happen if people here learned he was Jay? Would his life as Jay be affected? Would his life as Jason? Jason slowly sat up and rubbed his face. His reputation as Jason Wayne wasn't great. A lot of the press clung to his street rat days, and his death, of course, was a hot topic. He knew he was in the tabloids. He knew most considered him brash and unpleasant. He really couldn't blame that on anyone because he was. So there probably would be a struggle to correlate Jason Todd Wayne and Jay Gatsby, and Jay's reputation would likely suffer. Jason didn't really like the idea. He liked being liked. Who wouldn't? But there wasn't anything he could really do about it, besides being careful. What really got him about the memory was that it reminded Jason he was alive again. Actually alive. Yeah, Barbara and Roy had talked about it, but it hadn't really hit him until the memory game was in the front. By now, the class had moved on, and the professor had pulled up a PowerPoint. But Jason was lost in his thoughts, thinking about life, his life, and how he was in a college class. How he actually had his GED, and how he was going for a bachelor's in English education. How he wasn't sure what he was going to do with that degree. But he had a choice. Choice. A life. At Jay Gatsby for real posted a picture. The image is of a book standing on Jay's coffee table, next to a cup of tea. The book's cover reads, "At the end it will take us all," and is depicting a barren field under a banner of stars. At Jay Gatsby for real. So, this is a sci-fi novella that I probably won't do a full video on, despite how much I love it. And I really, really love it. This is the story of a girl, Celosia, who was born in space and forced to return to Earth after her parents died. She'd been taken in by what are essentially morticians. As Earth has become so polluted, people just use it as dumping grounds for the dead. Surrounded by death, Celosia begins to question if everything is worth it. It's not perfect, but even given how death-centric it is, it's hopeful. It's been helping me see how there's hope, even in death. Anyway, here's the link. 468 comments. At Like It Lurk It. Already ordered it. At Hedgehogger. Ordered from my local shop. At StreamScript. Alright, this jumps up on my priority list if Jay says it's good. At Underscroll. Well, I haven't read a book in like a year, but here we go. At Chiptunes. Well, just called my local bookstore and got them to order it for me, and the gal on the line casually mentioned she'd already had people call in for it earlier, lol. I think Jay just set off a tidal wave. How was I supposed to know that that was gonna happen? Jay scratched the back of his head as he stared at the article Barbara had sent him. Because... Barbara countered over his phone. You know your fans are, like, crazy about you. Jason let out a long sigh. Still, I mean, making a couple years old novella into a bestseller of the New York Times bestsellers? That's a little weird. No, not really. Jason could practically see Barbara rubbing her temples. Jason, your following is particularly rabid about you. No way. Jason shook his head. They all seem pretty level-headed. Yeah, they said weird things, but there's no fighting or anything. They seem pretty chill. They just like to tease me. Jason Peter Todd, they gave you over $600,000. Yeah, but that's like Twitch, isn't it? That's what Twitch is for. No! Jason, you're a smart guy. You are the most emotionally intelligent person out of us. Why is this your one blind spot? These are your fans. They care about you. And hang on to your word. Want it or not, you've got influence now, Jason. Influence. Jason had influence before. The Red Hood had influence. A promise of violence if you didn't follow the rules. If you chose to hurt the innocent. This was different, though. This was even different than Bruce's type of influence. Jason's fans had funded a homeless shelter, and they had bought a book supporting artists. It kind of reminds Jason of, like, Clark. Barbara was quiet for a moment, but her voice softened after a moment. Yeah, kinda like Clark. I think you influence people to want to be better, to read more, to give to charity, to think about others. Oh, yeah. Barbara's tone was a lot softer now. Really came up from Crime Alley, huh, Boy Wonder? Yeah. Jason blinked a few times. It's just weird. Good, I guess. But I never did it for this. For any of this. Babs, I just wanted to talk about books. Yeah, and that's okay. You're still doing that. Yeah, I guess. Jason let his weight pull him back to his apartment wall and slowly sink to the ground. I'm alive, aren't I? Like, really alive. Like, I'm living my own life. But I'm changing things now. If I go again, people will be sad. Things will change. Right? Well, you aren't going anywhere, Barbara first clarified. But your death changed things. It changed a lot. And maybe not for the better. I'm sorry for that. And I'm sorry we haven't been there for you. Now that I only showed up when it was easier. I should have been around more. Reached out. Babs, I know I don't make things easy. No, you don't. But that's not the point. I cared about you. I should have been there even when you were pushing us away. I should have been strong enough to not just say I care about you, but show it. But regardless, you found a way without us. Jason could see Bab's soft smile. The one she used to give him when he'd come to her after finishing a book she'd recommended him. And I'm so proud of you, Jay. They were both quiet for a long moment. The phone line still connected and pressed against Jason's ear. He could faintly hear the squeaking of Barbara's chair and the small huff of her breath. He wasn't sure she could hear his own, heavier breathing as he tried fighting back the well of his own emotions in his chest. Suddenly, he felt tired, exhausted down to his bones. He felt as if he could just sink right there into his floor. Yet, it wasn't unpleasant. He tilted his head back up and looked up at his ceiling. He let his emotions roll over him. The pride, the fear, the anxiety, the happiness, the hope. Barbara. Yeah? Do you think you can help me find a therapist? I think I want professional help. Again, Jason could practically see the soft smile as she brushed back her red hair. Jason wasn't 14, though. He was 20, sitting on his apartment's floor. He was a YouTuber who had helped people, a college student, and a kick-ass vigilante. Yeah, Jason, I can help you do that. Chapter 6. Who is Jason Peter Todd Wayne? Jason was trying to limit his bookstore trips. Not that money was an issue. No, he had a whole account saved for buying books that definitely wasn't laundered money. The issue was space. His apartment wasn't big, and he had already filled shelves. His coffee table stack was already growing. He thought about putting them in one of his safe houses, but none of those were quite as insulated as his apartment was. And Jason wasn't about to start risking water damage. So, why was he in a bookstore? Because he saw it on his way home, and it couldn't hurt to pick up one or two more books. He looked at the cover of the book he picked up. It seemed like a queer horror novel. Steph had sent him the author's other work, some absurd romance novellas that Jason hadn't actually read. This one seemed to be a more serious affair. Jason did like a good horror story, so maybe this one would be worth a try. He decided to take the book, and the book from the author right next to it. Jason pulled out his phone and took a few photos, and did a quick Instagram post. At Jay Gatsby for real. I've heard about this author before, so I'm gonna give it a new try. Check out at Page Turner in Gotham. Then, with both books in hand, Jason walked up to the cash register. It was then that he noticed the girl at the register staring at him with excited eyes. Jason was a little confused, but just walked up. "Hey, find everything you need?" The girl slammed her phone face down on the counter. Yeah, thanks." Jason awkwardly smiled as he put his books on the counter. She was giggling as she scanned the books, and her phone started to vibrate on the counter. Something was going off in Jason's head, but he took a deep breath. She was likely just texting a group of friends. Jason breathed again. There were 100 reasons why her phone could be going off like that. "Will that be $45, cash or card?" Jason felt himself twitch at her excitement. Definitely not a question, tone, but again, he breathed and pulled out his wallet. Fuck. He closed his eyes and breathed out once more as he remembered he'd just spent the last of his cash at his favorite chili dog stand. So, hesitantly, he pulled out his debit card and handed it to the young lady at the register. She looked at it for a second longer than Jason was comfortable with, but not long enough for him to feel right about saying anything. But she scanned his card, bagged his books, and gave him the receipt. Their interaction was done, and Jason hurried out of the store as fast as he could, trying to outrun the anxiety pulling at his gut. She recognized him. Jason was fucking right in not trusting it. She fucking recognized him and blasted his real name on the internet. Babs did her best to scrub it, but it was too late. People saw it and the store copy of his receipt. Everyone fucking knew. Everyone fucking knew. And there was only one thing to do. Shut it down. Jason couldn't bring himself to start looking at comments or any social media, really, which was a strange shift. He'd slowly grown used to posting little things about his daily reading or cooking, but anytime he tried to touch his phone, it also hurt. So, while he wanted to delete it all, he couldn't. Fuck. He definitely didn't feel comfortable going out right now. But he couldn't stay here and stew. So Red Hood was going to have to make a bit of an earlier appearance. It was fine. It worked out, and would keep people on their toes. Just... fuck. With everything out of his mind, Jason focused on what he did best. Since the light was still out, there weren't too many brave enough for a mugging or robbery. But this was Gotham, after all, and the Red Hood was not completely without work. The Red Hood perched himself on top of a building across from a warehouse. He laid perfectly still on the building roof, peering through a pair of binoculars. It would have been his rifle, if someone hadn't taken it, for a modification he never asked for. Well, whatever. It was a fine stakeout. The Red Hood only needed to wait for the moment the money traded hands. Jason. The Red Hood did not move, or jump, despite the little beat his heart gave, and the sinking in his stomach. He just cast a look over his shoulder. "Batman?" Batman didn't say anything, and didn't really even move. Well, that was fine. The Red Hood didn't need whatever was going on with him right now. "Jason." "Names. God. Can't believe I'm telling you of all people." Hood huffed and peered back through the binoculars. "If you're gonna stand there and brood, the least you can do is keep it down. About your channel." Everything stilled for a moment. Batman knew. Bruce knew. With everything that had been going on, Jason had totally forgotten about his concern over his family knowing. Of fucking course Bruce knew. Jason was a total idiot. Oh, but what the hell did it matter now? Everyone knew. Everyone was pulling him apart, trying to decide who he was. "Jason, can we..." Jason didn't say anything. He simply got up and left the scene. Right now, nowhere was safe. Jason had made the plan to not move a fucking inch. He was going to go to bed and not move a fucking singular inch. Since the universe decided that he was its punching bag, taking everything that gave him an ounce of happiness or healing, it was best to not play its stupid fucking games. The only problem with his plan was the blonde dressed in purple who had been prodding him for the last 10 minutes. Bruce says he's sorry, Stephanie said, as she continues to try and point to what she thought was Jason's ribs. It was actually his hip, but Jason wasn't about to move from under his pile of blankets to tell her that. He just wants to fix it because, he's done this publicity stuff for a long time, and you know me. I wouldn't be here if I didn't think he was truly sorry. For what it's worth, I'm sorry too. Stephanie stopped for a moment, then tried putting her hand on his shoulder. It was nice of you to tell people not to bug the clerk, though. I'm sure she didn't mean it. Come on, Jason, give me something to work with here. There's nothing to work with. Everything's fine. Jason, if everything was fine, you'd be out in your living room reading. You are, the most active person I know. She resumed poking Jason's sheet. You curled up like this is a bad sign. You know your weekly meetup with Barbara is tomorrow. You're not gonna stand her up to wallow. No. Rain check. I can't exactly go out right now. Jason muttered, pulling at his sheets. Sure you can. I mean, yeah, you're close to 1 million followers, but 1 million out of 7 billion people on Earth is tiny. She recognized me. Jason muttered. I told myself it wasn't gonna happen, that it was just my paranoia talking, and look where that got me. Stephanie stayed quiet, her hand hovering over Jason's shoulder, but Jason didn't say anything else. A small part of his heart knew Stephanie knew what was up. She understood how hard it was to trust, with their background. The silence was nice, but Jason could feel a little shift in the air. The kind that typically happened when Stephanie got an idea. Jason felt her lift from his bed, and he could hear her walking to her bag, which she dumped on his floor, and began to dig through. A moment later, she seemed to find it, and she began dialing. Hey Duke, do you want to have a movie night with me and Jason? Yeah, just the 3 of us. Sort of. It's tangentially related. I just think he needs you and me right now. About 30 minutes later, Jason was pulled out of his bed by Stephanie and Duke combined for a movie marathon in his living room. Alfred sent me with snacks, Duke said, as Stephanie forced Jason down onto his couch, and Duke pulled out containers of Alfred's preferred popcorn brand, as well as a thermos of something and several bags of candies. And of course I picked some stuff out myself, got the good shit. Nothing more was said about Jason's channel, or anything really, as Jason helped Duke get the snacks ready, and Stephanie set up the movie. They then gathered back on Jason's couch. It wasn't really big enough for Jason's size plus 2 others to spread out, but none of them seemed to mind as they got comfortable laying on top of each other. As the movie played, things got lighter for a bit. But as the night grew on, Steph and Duke needed to head out. Duke said as he packed his things up, it's not as bad as you might think. Jason stared at him. They are talking about it, though. Duke sighed. Yeah, Babs and Bruce are both doing what they can, but people are talking about Jay Gatsby. The street rat turned Wayne heir. Jason could only shrug. But dude, why do you still own the Iceberg Lounge? That pulled a little smile onto Jason's lips. Why wouldn't I? Duke just rolled his eyes. Anyway, it's like I said. It's not as bad as you think it is. At least not from your fans. A lot of people are just asking if you're okay. Duke then looked up at him with a furrowed brow. Are you? Am I what? Are you okay? Jason thought about the question for a lot longer than he probably should have. Because ultimately he knew. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. It was just a stupid hobby he'd picked up. No one was dying. No one got hurt. The only thing that would change is how people would see Jay Gatsby. They'd start seeing Jason Todd Wayne, the aggressive street rat, the new model after Grayson left. The guy who got into a fight, never finished school, and died was now coasting on daddy's money. And who really cared about that? Jason did. Jason cared about that. For some reason, he cared that, for the first time in his life, he really felt seen. He was doing things that helped people, and he was seen and recognized for it, praised, and there was no expectation or comparison. He felt good. Now that that was all stripped away, and his work and trust that things wouldn't always be the worst-case scenario went with it, it shouldn't have been that big of a deal. But it was. It was a big deal. Trying to take a deep breath, force back his tears. "No, Duke. I don't think I am." Duke frowned and nodded. "All right, man. Well, you know where we are if you need us." The teen paused for a second as he turned to join Stephanie at the door. "We'll be back next Friday?" "Yeah, sure. Knock yourself out." Jason wasn't exactly proud of himself for ditching his meeting with Barbara, but he had at least texted her that he still wasn't comfortable getting out today. She'd given him a thumbs up and asked if he wanted to join a call. He declined. A few hours later, though, she sent him a PDF with a message. Barbara. Today, 11:42. That recommendation list I promised you. Jason did look over the list. It even went into a few of the listed websites to check out the doctor. But his trust felt thin right now, and trusting a therapist not to spill his most personal thoughts felt out of reach. He knew Babs would understand when he didn't respond. After a few days, Jason returned to his Red Hood work, keeping his distance, but eventually returning to his uneasy alliance with people. Duke and Stephanie kept coming over on Fridays, and for a while, Babs was okay with Jason skipping their typical outings. Barbara Gordon was a magnanimous person in Jason's eyes, but even she had her limits. Barbara. Today, 10:18. Today at 11:30, at Gotham Grounds. Be there. Jay Birdie. Today, 10:19. 07. Yes, ma'am. Jason remembered Gotham Grounds, because just last week, Red Robin had accidentally sent a batarang through the store's main window, shattering the thing right after asking for a meeting, where he asked people to try and lower their collateral damage. Jason still wasn't letting him live that down anytime soon. Things had been moving on, and getting better, but it was still a struggle to go out as Jason Todd. Jason changed up his style a bit and tried to look a bit more formal, to avoid any comparison with Jay Gatsby, or Jason Wayne, and their relaxed style. It was uncomfortable, but not unbearable. As Jason held the door open, as Barbara wheeled herself in, Jason felt like eyes were on him, and not even the reassuring smile from Barbara could help the fire in his nerves. They quickly placed their order, and a spark of nerves shot up Jason as he watched the barista's eyes light up, and she waved. "Hey, Rat! Surprised to see you here! Oh, and Heather's here too!" Jason let out a shaky sigh as he helped clear a path so Barbara could get to the wheelchair-accessible table in the corner of the room, when he took his own and promptly curled into himself. "Oh, come on, Jay." Barbara reached out and patted his head. "I thought she recognized me." Jason muttered into the table. "Oh, I'm so fucking stupid. I should be over this." "Jason, it's okay." Barbara kept on comforting him. It was a serious breach of privacy, and it was just unfortunate, but Jason, you need to know something. See something. "What?" Jason barely lifted his eyes. "Your fans have become really protective." Barbara pulled out her phone. "Look, Jason, people have been defending you. Recognize that Jay Gatsby is you." "Of course it's fucking me. They saw..." "No, it's the person you really are, under all the street rat and charity case shit. Jay, it's really you. It's who the kid in the yellow cape wanted to be." Barbara put her phone on the table. Jason poked his head up. On Bab's phone was a Reddit post. Update 2, or maybe 3. Why Jason Todd /Wayne/Gatsby, whatever the fuck his name is hot. After reading a few lines, a smile twitched on Jason's lips. "It's not just that, Jason. They're still rooting for you." Babs then nudged him, trying to get him to look up, as she motioned to a group of people on the other side of the cafe. Jason took a quick glance. It was 6 people. One of them, a curly-haired brunette, standing up, seemed to be the leader, as they held up a list. The black-haired, androgynous person next to her seemed to be spacing out, as does the brunette and pixie-cut blonde girl in the Metropolis University sweatshirt. Jason uncurled himself a little to get a better look. "They're your fan club, Jason." Jason's eyes met with the androgynous person's, but only for a second as the brunette drew their attention back with a scolding remark as the black-haired person said something, probably a little too loud. "Oh, shit! It's Mansfield Park!" They decided they should start a book club. Jason turned his attention back to Barbara. "Really?" "Yeah, what can I tell you? You helped make 6 different book clubs across the states, and one in the UK. Babs put her hand over his. "It's okay, Jason. They might not know everything, but they understand. You built something good. It's okay." Jason put his head down as he couldn't stop the tears from starting to fall. Chapter 7. So this is Jason. Gatsby Reviews. 1 million sub special. For the first time, Jay Gatsby is unmasked. He's still sitting on his typical seat, with the same coffee table in front of him, still decorated with a stack of books and a mug of tea. Nothing has changed. Jay is still wearing sweatpants and a plain t-shirt. The only difference is finding his face. The scars are now in full view, but his face is still very handsome in a rugged sort of way. But it's his expression that is something else. It's clear there is a tightness in his cautious expression, but he's still trying to smile, trying to relax, but he seems unsure. Still, he begins to speak. "Yeah, so, no reason to beat around the bush. The cat is out of the bag. My real name is Jason Todd Wayne." Jay, or rather Jason, takes a deep breath. "Also, in being upfront, none of this has been paid for by my adopted dad. He didn't even know about it until 6 months after I started. I can't be sure exactly when he figured it out, but he figured it out and just tried to support me by letting me keep it to myself. Which is why there is no statement from the Waynes. I indirectly made it clear I didn't want that." Jason shifted his weight, folding his hands in his lap. "Because I didn't want this to be associated with how people saw me as Jason Wayne. A lot of people know the bored details of my history. Me being homeless, me being taken in, my dying, and coming back to be the problem child. Of course, with that, there are a lot of rumors, which aren't true. Me and Bruce don't get along, yeah, but we care about each other, and are working on it. Just slowly." Jason sighed again, rubbing his temples. "But at the end of the day, this channel was started to get away from all that. To be something where I could just talk about books, where I didn't have to be who people wanted me to be, or who I thought I needed to be. And I got hurt when I mixed the two. I was scared people would just care about Jason Wayne and all that drama." Then, almost as a surprise to himself, Jason finally relaxes and he smiles. It's soft. Just the corners of his lips gently turn up. His eyes are almost closed. Again, it's small, but it's honest. "But you guys all kind of proved my fears wrong. You made a book club. You guys pushed on, talked about books, and not harassing people who exposed me. From what I know, they were fired, and we sent them a legal notice to stay away from me. But, back to my point, I'm really proud of you all. Honestly, my family says I built this, but no, you guys did that. I'm really proud of you all." Jason then folds his hands and rubs them nervously as his gaze shifts to the ground. "I'm still struggling with all this, and with some old personal stuff, but I think I'm okay. I'm seeing a therapist and a psychiatrist now, and I think we're all okay. If you guys want, I'll keep going, because I like doing this. I like supporting people, and I'm thankful for your support. I feel lucky. I feel okay." Again, Jason looks up with a soft, gentle smile, his green eyes softly twinkling as he looks directly at the camera. "Thanks, everyone. Congrats. To all of us, for 1 million subs. 10,342 comments. At Flying Grayson. First. But seriously, so proud of you, little wing. At Like It Lurk It. I'm not crying, you are. At Echo Empress. I'm so proud of you too, Jason. At Ya Boy Roy. Congrats, Jay Bird. At Red Soda. Wait, does this mean Jay Gatsby is gay? Do I have a chance? At Greenlight Artist. No, you don't. At Neon Contour. Congrats, Jay. Sparkles. At Tim Don't Verify Me, Drake. Clap, clap, clap. At Cluemaster Sucks Balls. Clap, clap, clap. At Cassandra Wayne. Clap, clap, clap. At Like It Lurk It. The big sister! At Cassandra Wayne. Smile. At Hedgehogger. We're so back, baby! At Greenlight Artist. Cheering emoticon. At Damien A.G. Wayne. Finally, I can start commenting on your work. I would like you to actually go over the Great Gatsby next, and if you could not tangent off about Zelda Fitzgerald, that would be perfect. At Duke It Out. That's a tall order, man. And Jay does have a point, though. At Damien A.G. Wayne. That may be, but I highly doubt that I'll get a high score with the he was a fucking prick. At Damien A.G. Wayne. Also, Mother wants you to call her. At Punny Hyena. Okay, you know what? The drive to Gotham for the fan club was totally worth it. At Hedgehogger. Told you, Haley! At Punny Hyena. Watching you get shot down by Rat's coworker was pretty nice too. At Hedgehogger. What the fuck? At Ratboy420funny. LMAO. At Ratboy420funny. Well, I guess I can say I made a YouTuber fucking cry now. At Real Bruce Wayne. I'm so proud of you, son. At John Cook, fangirly. I'm so fucking upset that this happened. But if Jay's okay, then I'll keep standing. At least now I know he's Jason Wayne, and I can fill out a new Ida bag. At PM Me Your Socks. Welcome back, our unproblematic king. At Oracle. Smile. Jason pulled back his sunglasses as he walked behind Steph and Babs. He let himself have a short, little chuckle. He knew he probably looked like a bodyguard for the two women, even though they were here to support him. It was his first convention. His first fan meeting, honestly. He doubted anyone was going to approach him with an invitation, as he'd been recognized a few times in Gotham, and it all had been so quiet and respectful. He really appreciated it, but he actually was excited to meet people today. It had been a long road, and he had more to go, but it was something. Excuse me? Jason turned around to see two young women running towards him. One, a pale, red-headed woman dressed in a sundress, being pulled by a dark-skinned woman with beautiful curly hair, in a relaxed suit matching her partner. Both were about Jason's age. Oh my god! The dark-skinned woman started. You're Jay Gatsby, right? Yeah. He paused, as did Stephanie and Barbara. The woman took a moment to compose herself, as her seemingly girlfriend patted her shoulder. I'm Lee. I'm the New York fan club chapter president. This is my girlfriend, Sarah. Hi. Oh. Jason grinned. Like it, lost it, right? I really appreciate all you've done. Not just supporting me, but, you know, that large fans group. I'm gonna die. Lee put her head in her hands. I'm actually gonna fucking die. It's okay, Lee. Sarah kept trying to calm her girlfriend. I'm sorry for my post. Lee seemed to be ignoring her girlfriend's comfort as she looked at Jason. It made you kind of uncomfortable. It's okay. It actually boosted my confidence. And without you, and well, that height guy, we wouldn't be here. It's not like you're the demon theory post. Steph added with a shrug. Lee instantly pulled out her phone and started texting. Oh my god, I'm telling Rat. Jason let loose a little snort. You want to know the truth? I was revived by a demon. Barbara instantly looked to Steph, who took a silent order to punch Jason in the shoulder. Jason just laughed as Lee and Sarah stared at him. I'm joking, Jason said, waving his hand dismissively. Anyway, it's nice to meet you both. Wait a second. This might be a little weird. Lee held up her hand before putting her phone away, and then pulled out an envelope. I was gonna give this to you at the meetup, but maybe now might be better. Jason blinked as he took the envelope and slowly opened it. Wedding of Annabelle Lee Diaz and Sarah Byrne. We, met because of you. Sarah started as she took Lee's hand. There isn't an expectation for you to do something or anything, but I can't thank you enough for introducing me to the love of my life. Oh! Jason rubbed his chin. I'd love to, actually. Stephanie was elbowing Jason with a wide grin, as Babs sighed into her hand. The girls made a little more small chatter as Barbara let them know Jason had to get to his booth. Jason wasn't really listening, though, as he stared at the wedding invitation. He thought about the two women, how they happened to look together, how excited they were for their future. Jason blinked. Hey, Babs. Yeah? Barbara paused and looked at Jason, who was still looking at the invitation. We're okay, aren't we? Yeah, Jason, we are. Notes. I really hope you enjoyed this Jay Gatsby saga. I might post some bits on my Tumblr, but this is pretty much the end of it. I'm happy with it, and I'm already moving on to different food-based work, which I've teased again on my Tumblr. But for the last time, thank you for reading. I'm so normal. Guys, you don't understand. I'm so normal. And I didn't tear up. And I'm so normal. I've never been more normal in my entire life. I'm glad that everyone took this journey with me. If anyone has any fix suggestions, I'd be so down to take some. I do have my list filled for December. I suggest that everyone goes and reads this fic. I put the link to the fic in the description of all of my posts. Go and read it. It's really good, and I can't properly express the emoticons. No one is a functional adult. That's not a thing. I'm pretty sure my hatred of Alice in Wonderland has been spoken about before. I think I put that in at some point. Would people be interested in me doing some, readings of the classics? Dad Zawa babysits. I personally am going to kill this fictional character. Let's go. Paranoia. Hello? Are you wearing a plain t-shirt? Is this Lee? Lee! Yo! Lee has a canon design! Holy shit, I need to draw Lee. I'm normal. I'm so normal. I have to include at least a small amount of me freaking the fuck out. Oh my god. Holy shit! I'm so normal. Guys, you don't understand. I'm so normal.